Hi and welcome to Candyfloss Crochet. Today I'm going to show you how to do a continuous flat braid join. So this join is for your granny squares, and what's really good about it is that it was very forgiving. So if you have squares that are slightly bigger than others, so for example these two here, they're slightly bigger or slightly smaller than others, it's quite forgiving and you'll be able to join them and you won't be able to see the fact that your squares are a different size. So I've just picked here 6 random squares that I just had knocking around. They don't necessarily all go together, but I'm going to join them today to show you how to do that braid. So you will need your crochet hook. So I'm using a 4mm crochet hook, and whatever yarn you're going to use, I'm going to use this sort of pinky colour. It's just one I had knocking around, it's nothing special, just to give you an example of how to do it. And doing the join, you need to lay your squares out to start with. Make sure you get them in the order that you want them in, face up, and we will be starting in this top corner here. We're going to be working along here, down this edge, back up this one here, along the top, down the edge, back up this one, along the top of this one, down the edge, and then we're going to be working in our middle. So we're going to work along our middle, all the way along, back round, down the edge, back up, across, down the edge, back up, across, and then all the way around the outer edge, taking us right back up to this edge here, and that will finish them off. So you obviously, it depends on how big your blanket that you're making is to how many squares you have, but I'm just going to work on 6 here so you get the idea of how to work them. So if you want to get your squares ready, lay them out in the order that you want them in, and then we're going to be starting in our top right hand corner. So if you grab your hook, grab your yarn, and we'll get started. Okay, so if you're ready to get started, we're going to work on this. My first square I'm going to work on. I'm going to join it to this one, and this will be the top right of my blanket. So if you identify your corner chain space and you want to work into the first stitch, so this first stitch next to it, not the corner one. So to get your yarn and make a slip knot, I'm going to find that first stitch there, and I'm just going to put my loop on and pull it through, and I'm going to chain 4. Now this counts as a UK double crochet and a chain 3. Now I need to skip a stitch, so skip in the next one and do a UK double crochet into the next one, chain 3, skip 1, UK double into the next one, chain 3, skip 1, UK double into the next one, and you're going to work all the way along your work doing a UK double crochet, chaining 3, skip 1, and repeat all the way along until you get to your corner. Now the aim is that you have an equal number of chain 3 loops along your work. So it depends on the size of your squares that you're working on, but if you go by one of the squares is about the average size. So if you have a look at them, if you've got a few that are more or less the same size, then that's your starting point. So work all the way along and then make a note of how many loops you have. Join me back at the corner and I'll show you how to work the next. Okay, so I've worked all the way along my top edge of my work, and I have 12 chain 3 loops on this work. So that is the number that I'm going to be working on, and each side now on each square is going to have 12 loops. So you might find that your squares are slightly smaller than mine, so you have less loops, or they could be a lot bigger, but as long as you have the equal number. So for me, my magic number working this continuous flat join is going to be 12. You might find that you have 13 or 15 or whatever the number, or you might only have 9. It doesn't really matter. It just matters that you have the same number. So what you might find is on this one, I can get 12 in. Maybe on this one, I haven't tried it yet, I can get 13 in, or I might only have 11 of them. So if that's the case, then you might want to miss the skip stitch and put 2 in. The important thing is having the loops in. You won't notice the fact that there isn't a gap between them. So if you need to put extra ones in, you might skip the missed stitch and putting extra chains in, or you might add extra ones in, but as long as your number continues all the way around. Once you get to your corner, you're going to chain 5, skip over the corner one and go into that first stitch again, double crochet, chain 3, and we're working down our side now, skip 1 into the next one, and hopefully, if my count's right, I should have 12 down the side. So if you carry on with your work, just remember the number of how many you have doesn't really matter, you just need to have the same amount on each square. So as I said, pick your square that's probably about the average size, because on mine I have a couple that are slightly bigger than others. So if you pick the one that's about average size and you go by that one, and you just have to fudge the others to fit in, and they will fit in, so as long as you've got the equal number. So work all the way down the side, doing double crochet, chain 3, skip 1, double crochet. So work all the way down the side. Join me when you get to the bottom. So I'm just going to lay mine out for you. When you get to this bottom corner down here, join me again, and I'll show you how we're going to join our very first square. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way down your side edge, and you should have your 12, for me anyway, 12 chain 3 loops all the way along, which matches our 12 I had at the top. So as long as your number's the same number, it doesn't matter what it is. And we're at our bottom corner on our last stitch, and I need you to chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to bring in our very first square. So I'm joining this one here, and we are going to join it not in the corner, in the first stitch. So if you just go into that first one and work a single crochet into that first stitch, chain 1, then you need to find the loop on your first loop of the square that you've just worked. So take your hook out, so you might want to pull your loop up a little bit, put your hook into that first loop on the other side, put your working loop back on your hook and pull through and chain 2. Skip a stitch as we've done before, single crochet, sorry, double crochet, UK double crochet into the next one, chain 1, pull up a loop, find the next chain 3 space on your square, pull through, chain 2. Skip a stitch, double crochet into the next one, chain 1, remove your hook, find the corresponding loop on the other side, pull through, chain 2. And you're going to repeat that all the way up, and as you can see, it started to knot together the actual squares that we're working on, and you've got this funny chain 5 at the bottom, which will correspond with the chain at the top here. So don't worry about that one, because you're going to use that when you're working back along this bottom edge, and each one will have this funny little chain. So just to recap one more time, get my hook back on. So I've just done my chain 2, I'm going to miss a stitch, go into the next one and do UK double crochet, chain 1, oops, split my yarn, remove my hook, find the next chain 3 space on your existing square, back in, pull through, chain 2, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next one, chain 1. So you're basically doing your chain 3s, but you're doing them on both sides. So we've done a chain 1 on this side, I'm going to find my other side, I'm going to grab hold, pull through, chain 2. So work all the way up, creating this lovely little braid until you get to the top, and then I will show you how to go around the top of your square. Okay, so I'm back at the top of my square now, and as you will see, I haven't got 12 loops so far. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And this would have been my 12th one. But as you can see, I haven't got a space to skip. So if you have the same issue, that you haven't got a skip stitch, then just work a double crochet into that last stitch. Then you want to chain 3, take your hook out, go under the chain 5 space from the first square, pick up your loop again on your hook, pull through, chain 3 again, and then you're going to skip the chain space from the square of the previous round, and you're going to work your double crochet into that first square. So as you can see, that gives you a nice straight edge, and I've sort of fudged it. You can't really see that I've actually fudged it on that edge. So you now need to work all the way along to this square here. So that's doing your double crochet, chain 3, skip 1, double crochet, chain 3 all the way along. When you get to your corner, chain 5, work all the way back down this edge, and I will join then my next square in my group. So I will, if you pause the video now, work all the way along doing your double crochet, chain 3, skip 1, double crochet, chain 3, skip 1 till you get to your corner 1, chain 5, work all the way down, making sure that whatever your count number is, so for me it's magic number 12, that's what you're expecting to get along the top. And if you have too many, so this square might have too many or too few, then I'm going to add some in and miss those skips ones, or sorry, if I have too many, I'm going to reduce it down. If I have not enough, I'm going to add some extra in. I'm going to work all the way down to this bottom corner, then I'll show you again how to join your next square. Okay, so I've got to the bottom of this, the second or middle square of my set of 6 that I have here, and as with the top here, I haven't got enough stitches or loops rather to make my magic number 12. So I've done my chain 3, and I'm just going to go into that last one there. So I'm not going to skip one on this one, I'm just going to go straight into that one. And as you can see, you can't really notice it. We're now going to join in our next square. So I've brought in my next square, and as we did on this bit over here, you're going to chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to find your first single double crochet that you've got, or the first stitch you have after your chains corner, and you're going to work a double crochet into that one, chain 1. This is where it gets a bit fiddly because you've got all these bits. I'm going to turn it on the side now, and I'm going to remove my hook. I'm going to find my first chain loop, which is here from the previous square, pull through, if I can keep my yarn on my hook, chain 2, miss a stitch, double crochet, chain 1, find your next loop, your chain 3 loop, grab hold of it, go through, chain 2, miss a stitch, double crochet, and work all the way up the top, chaining 1, finding the chain 3 space from the previous square, pull through, chain 2, miss a stitch, double crochet, chain 1, and repeat. So as you can see now, it's starting to form our shapes. It's starting to come up, and work all the way up to the top, and join me again, and I'll show you one more time how we do that top edge so that we get this nice sort of straight looking edge along the top. I'll show you again how to do that one. So pause the video, work all the way up, joining as you go, and join me again at the top. Okay, so I've worked all the way up, and as expected with this square, I don't have enough. So I've only got 11 loops and I need 12. So on my last one, I've just done my chain 2 and I've run out of stitches. I'm just going to go into that stitch there, the last one. Instead of skipping one, work my double crochet. And now we need to join our top bit. So exactly the same as that one. Obviously my very first square was slightly bigger than all the others, or these two at least. So you chain in 3, remove your hook, pick up the chain 5 loop of the previous corner, pull through, chain 3, miss your corner stitch, go into your first stitch after the corner, work your double crochet, chain 3 again, miss a stitch, double crochet, chain 3. Miss a stitch, double crochet. Okay, So that is basically how you join. So we've worked, just to recap, we've worked all the way along. So we started in this far corner here. We didn't work into our corner square. We worked into the first stitch and did a double crochet, chain 3 all the way along, and I had 12 loops. Chain 5 in the corner, came down this edge, did a chain 5 and linked in with the second one, and so on all the way around. So I'm going to work all the way along to this next corner, and because this is the end of my blanket, I'm going to do my work. I'm going to stop here, and if you rejoin me, I'll show you how to do. So if you've got more than 3 when you're working along, work all the way along, do your chain 5, work down, and then your next square, and so on until you get to the end. So if you pause the video now, work till you get to the end of the top row of your blanket, and join me and I will show you how we do the corner on the top row. Okay, so I've got to the end one, and as with both sides, I haven't quite got enough to have my magic number 12. So I've just done my chain 3, and I'm going to just anchor that one down with a double crochet into the next stitch. So I'm not skipping one on this one. You're going to do your corner as before, so chain 5, skip round the corner, missing your chain space, anchor it down with a double crochet, chain 3, miss a stitch, double crochet, and work all the way down your side. So at the moment I've gone along my top edge, I've come down, worked back up, along the top, down, work back up, along the top, down. And the next stage I'm going to bring in my bottom row, and I'm going to show you when you get to this bottom corner how you start joining the bottom row of your squares. So if you want to work along, remembering you're going up and down until you get to your end square, work down the side and pause at that bottom corner where you're going to join your next one, and I will show you how to join on your next square. Hi, so before we move on to joining our next row, I just wanted to show you an example of where my squares aren't perfectly square. So on this side I have 12, and I didn't have enough space on this edge to skip one to get my 12 in, but I got 12 in, and along the top edge again, same issue, I couldn't skip one, but I got my 12 in. This side, I've only got 10, which is really annoying. So I'm just going to show you how we get around that. So I'm just going to pull back a couple of stitches, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this is number 8. So on number 8, I am going to go straight into the next one. I'm not going to skip one. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to skip the next one. 1, 2, 3, go straight into the next one of that one. So I'm trying to spread them out a bit. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to skip one. 1, 2, 3. And let's see, let's do our count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm on my 12th one, and I'm going to not skip again. I'm going to go into my last stitch and anchor that one down. So I've managed to squeeze in my 12, but as you can see, I've just eked out. So you might want to pull your work back a bit further and spread them out maybe every 2 or 3 stitches so that they don't look bunched up. But once they join, you won't notice it. So that's just a good example there of what happens when your count is not right. So if you've got that problem, go back and work it as I've done there. If not, rejoin me and I'll show you how to join the bottom row. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way along top of your square, down, back up, along, down, back up, along for the full width of your project. And then you worked your final edge along this one, and we're now going to bring in our next 3 squares. Well, for me anyway, it's 3 squares that we're going to be joining along the bottom here. Okay, so what we're going to be working is along this edge, along the bottom, joining here, all the way along, all the way to my final square there. And then we're going to be joining this one. Sorry, it's hard to get it all in shot. Joining our next square at the bottom, joining that one, working down here, back up, joining along, down here, back up, joining along. So if you want to get your work ready, and I'm going to turn it completely around, so that's where I ended. That's my last bit there. I'm going to turn it all the way more or less upside down now so that I can start in this corner. And as we've done with every other corner, we're going to chain 5. We're going to skip our chain space and work a double crochet into the first one, chain 3, skip 1, double crochet into the next one, chain 3, skip 1, double crochet. So work all the way along until you get to this corner, and then I will show you what we do at the corners. Okay, so I've worked all the way along and magically I've got my gaps with 12 loops on here, and we're now going to join to the chain 5 loop we did on the previous row. So chain 3, remove your hook, place your hook in that chain 5 space and put your loop back on, pull it through, chain 3. Then don't go into the corner one, but go into the first stitch after the corner, double crochet, chain 3, skip 1, double crochet, chain 3, skip 1, double crochet, and you chain in 3. So that joins in your corner there like we did at the top now, so you can see that it's all flattening out beautifully. So work all the way along, making sure each time you stop before you get to the corner, make sure you've got the same number of loops all the way along. So for me it's that magic number 12. When you get to your next join, on your last one, you chain in 3, you're removing your hook, you're going into this one, reattaching your hook, chain 3 into the first stitch after your corner space, and work all the way along for the width of your project, joining each one as you go, and then stop when you get to the end and I will show you how to join our next row. Okay, so I've panned the camera right up, so apologies for the view that you're getting here, but I'm trying to get all the squares in. I've just finished my row along my bottom edge and I've got to my corner. I'm now going to rotate my work all the way around, so just pull on my end so I can unravel all my hard work. And that's the right way up now. So as you remember, we started here, we went along, down, back up, along, down, back up, got to our corner, so however many squares that you've got, all the way around the corner and along this bottom edge. And we're now going to bring in our squares that are going to join in the bottom corner or the next row. So for me, I've just got 6, but obviously you're going to have a lot bigger, and I'm going to show you how we join these along, and especially how we deal with this corner here so that we're getting these corners up together. But the principle of joining them here, down, back up, along, down, back up and along. So once we've tackled that corner, you should be good to go to add all your squares together, and then you can join me at the very end then, and I will show you how to finish off the last row to get you back up to this starting corner that we were at. Just by quickly looking at this, I can see this square has got a lot less fewer loops or stitches as the one above it, so I'm going to have to add extra ones in on this one, so I won't be skipping as many stitches, just so that I get my magic number 12. So if you want to get your work ready, get your next square ready, turn your work round. I'm just going to pause the video here, readjust my camera so you can see better, and then we will crack on with working our next join. Okay, so we're on my very last one, and I'm just going to chain 5. I'm going to bring in my next square, so I'm going to twist my work round again. I'm going to find my first stitch after my corner, so that's this one here. Going to single crochet into that one, chain 1, remove my hook, find the loop on my square above, put my loop back on the hook, pull through, chain 2, miss a stitch, double crochet, chain 1, find the next chain 3 space from the previous square, pull through, chain 2. So work all the way along, making sure you have the same loop stitch count as you have on the previous rows, and join me again when we get to this corner. I will show you how to work this corner together, and then we're going to be working along this side, bringing in our next square, working back up that square, and we're going to join in that corner. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way along, and I was right, I was slightly smaller, but only by 1 stitch. You can see there I haven't skipped to get my 12 in. We're now going to join to our row above. So if you remember with our row above, when we do our corners, we have these spaces here. And for each corner, we're going to join on the diagonal. So you're going to join this square to this one, not the one above. And then when you bring in your next square, you're going to join this square to this corner here. So let me turn it around a bit. I'm hoping that makes sense. As it gets bigger, it's getting more awkward to move. So I'm going to join this corner to this one over this side on the diagonal. So across here. And this one's going to go across here. So you're basically doing that. You're joining across on the diagonal. So let's do that together. So I'm going to chain 3. I'm going to find my corner space. So not this middle one. This is our corner spaces. So this is the one that I want. I'm going to remove my hook as we've done before. Place my hook under that diagonal. Pull my yarn through. Chain 3. And then find my first stitch after my corner and anchor that one down with a double crochet, chain 3, skip a stitch, double crochet into the next one, exactly as we've done before, chain 3. So I'm just going to pause there and open my work out so you can see how this chain is looped into this corner here, which has made this one disappear slightly. And when we bring in our next square, so we're going to work all the way down this edge. At the bottom, we're going to turn and work all the way back up. And when we get to our last one here, we're going to do exactly what I've done there. You're going to chain 3, remove your hook. You're going to find this corner over here on this side and work this one in so you get a cross effect. So I'm just going to work all the way down. So pause the video, work all the way down, work all the way back up. And I'll show you when we get to the top just once more how you join those corners on the middle section of your blanket. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way down, all the way back up, and you should be at your top one, making sure you have the same stitch count on each side. So for me, my magic number is 12, and I now need to join to this one. So as with this one here, we went on the diagonal across here, and with this one, we're going to go across to this square, this corner edge here. So we want to link it into this one here. So you've got quite a few holes, but make sure you're going into the chain loop on the very corner of the opposite square. So as we did before, let's put my loop back on, chain 3, remove your hook, find that corner one. So not this one here, you want this corner one right on that edge. Go underneath all of it, pull through, chain 3. Then find your first stitch after your corner, do a double crochet in there, and then you're going to link, so you need to turn your work into the top of these here as we did on this row here. So you're going to be linking in. When you get to this corner, you go diagonally across, back down, back up the next one, and diagonally across that way. So what you should end up with is a stitch that looks a little bit like a little knot in the corner, and when you work along, you'll see that that will all match out as you go. Okay, so you should have worked all the way down, all the way back up, joined in your corner along, and I'm at my very last edge of my blanket. And I just wanted to point out not to forget to link into this chain 5 space here, otherwise you'll carry on around the corner and you'll have a gap here. So as we've done with the ones at the top, you're going to do it in exactly the same way. So you're chaining 3, already done 1, so that's 3, put my hook in through there, pull through, chain 3, turn my work around, find my first stitch after the corner, which is this one here, anchor it down with a double crochet, chain 3, skip a stitch, which is that one there, and go into that one, chain 3, so my yarn's all tangled, skip a stitch into this one. Okay, so I'm just going to show you now. So I am now working down my final edge. When I get to my bottom corner, I'm going to chain 5, go around my corner. I'm going to work along, turn my work upside down and work along, join into this one. So if you remember, we did a chain 3, remove our hook, go into this one, chain 3 into this side. Work all the way along the bottom of your work. When you get to your corner, your final corner, you're chaining 5, working around the corner. Don't forget to grab these loops as you go up the side of your work. And then when you finish at the top, you're just going to finish off with your last stitch, chain 5 and slip stitch into that very first chain that we did, which counted as a double crochet, and that will finish off this tutorial. So the next step would be to work a border around it, so that you can leave it as it is if you wanted to, or you can add a border onto it. So go ahead and work that through, and then I'm going to show you a very quick border that you can do around it just to finish this off. Okay, so you should now have worked all the way around, making sure that you have your same stitch count of loops all the way up the side, and you've got your very first corner and last corner. And as before, I've just anchored my last one down, so I'm going to chain 5, and then I'm going to slip stitch into our very first stitch. So that's this one here that we worked when we started. So I'm just going to slip stitch into that one, and that finishes off the join of the flat braid. Now you can leave it as that if you wanted to, or you can go ahead and add another border. So to start off as a base for your border, I'm just going to carry on with the same yarn, but you could change colour if you wanted. You're going to be working into the chain 3 spaces. So if you slip stitch into the next chain 3 space, just to move that yarn across, chain 3, and we're going to work a half treble crochet into that one. So that's yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Jump into the next chain 3 space, half treble crochet, and another half treble crochet. Jump into the next one, you're going to work exactly the same, half treble crochet, 2 half treble crochets in each of your chain 3 spaces all the way along. And what this will do is just tidy up those edges now and give you a nice straight edge to work your next layer, if that's what you wanted to do, onto your work. So I'm just going to work with you along here. Just pull my yarn because it's now scagged. So 2 half treble crochets into each of your chain 3 spaces all the way along the top edge of your blanket. When you get to your join, work them exactly the same way. So 2 half treble crochets into that chain 5 space, jump across to the next one, 2 half treble crochets. So you work all the way along, next chain 3 space, exactly the same, 2 half treble crochets. So work all the way along your blanket as you go. And when you get to your corner, in your corner, you're going to work 2 half treble crochets, chain 2, 2 half treble crochets, and then start working along the edge. So if you want to go ahead and work that, and then I'm going to show you a sample of what you could do to move on to the next stage of the border. Okay, so welcome back. So you might be thinking, wow, that pattern's changed completely, but this blanket I used exactly the same joining method as we've been using on our flower square. So it's exactly the same, it's just done in white. And then I finished it off with my 2 half treble crochets into each of the chain 3 spaces in the same colour white. I then went on to add an extra border onto it. So what I've done here is what's called a moss stitch. And quite simply, you are literally working a double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, double crochet, and you work that all the way around. In the corners you're doing 2 double crochets in there and a chain 2 in between, and then when you add your next row, you're working into those chain 1 spaces in between, and you can carry on adding as many rows as you want to add a nice pretty border to this. So you can pick out the colours that are in your squares, or alternatively you could have a completely contrasting colour. And on the very end I just did some shell stitches with this one, so you're working in your shells, and if you want to understand how to do shell stitches, I will put a link to the pattern to how to do the shells at the end. But that finishes off that border quite nicely, or you can just leave it with your, let me just bring in my work that we were working on earlier, you can just leave it with this straight border that we've created along here. It's entirely up to you how you work your final border on your work, depending on what look you're going for. But I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it's given you some ideas of how to join squares that don't always match when your stitch count is slightly off. Or like these, there are different type of patterns. We have like a traditional granny square here and a flat granny square. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please take the time to give me a thumbs up, like my video, and if you can subscribe, then and click the notification bell, then any new videos that I post you will get a notification so you know exactly when they're coming. Thanks for watching.